Data, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, data. Get 4 lines of unlimited data for $100 a month. Unla, re, mi, unlimited data. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Cricket Unlimited plan required on all 4 lines. Discount per line varies. Data speed limited to max 3 megabits per second. Video streaming and SD quality. After 22 gigabytes per line per month, you may experience slower speeds. Fees, usage, and restrictions apply based on overall coverage in the U.S. See store for details.
Blog Talk Radio.
It's a new thing that's sweeping the land when you don't know which way to go. The answer is Jesus and Elevation Radio.
All right, welcome again. This is your host, Pastor Steve, Music Man Turner, and welcome back to Elevation Radio 1, the new movement that's sweeping the land of positivity, positive people serving a positive God, doing positive things. This is what we're all about. And our special guest today is Elder C.D. Witherspoon, Elder Courtly C.D. Witherspoon, great humanitarian and civil rights activist. But first, again, we want to thank our main sponsor, and that's God. That's what I said, G-O-D. God and Praise Unlimited Ministries, your home for the on-call organist, and Steve Turner Ministries, your home for the other pulpit, Life Lessons of a Leader. Go out and grab the book. It's important. Looking forward to speaking with everyone. We are here to talk about our subject. But first, the verse to rehearse, and that is in Revelations 22 and 11. It says, "He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. And he that is, Lord have mercy, filthy, let him be filthy still. But he who is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still." Lord have mercy. And so, if you have an opinion on the subject, it's called Blackface in Baltimore. Blackface in Baltimore. Profit-peddlers of regentrification. And so you may not be in Baltimore, you may be in Wyoming, Utah, Manassas, Hawaii. But if you can look around and find out if this is what's going on in your situation, what in the world is blackface anyway? It's makeup used by a non-black performer playing a black role. And so we have the question really is, do we have career politicians who are black who are doing things that really do not advance the black movement? On that note, I want to turn over to my esteemed guest. I don't know how to introduce him. He's just got so many awards and citations and honors, just an incredible former head of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, a lifetime member of the NAACP, a crusader for justice. It is my good friend, Elder Courtly C.D. Witherspoon. God bless you. Welcome, sir.
I'm just glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's not a problem, sir. Not a problem. When you heard the subject blackface in Baltimore, what did that hit you at?
Where does it hit me?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I think about is being African American is really an experience, and it's not just an experience; it's owning that experience. And so, what that means is that there are people who can look like us but not have an appreciation for the experience. So, I think that there are a lot of people walking around us who may look like us, but who do not have the same agenda, who don't have an appreciation for our experience and what we've gone through to get to this point, even as imperfect as it is.
Well, let's get right into it. You're absolutely right on what the kids say, you're spot on. And so I was watching Corrupt Crimes yesterday, and it seemed to be talking about crooks at City Hall. And it spoke of Bell, California. And there in 2014, I believe that the mayor there, Mr. Ray Ruzio, actually found a way to make some money for himself. He changed the charter of the city, and what he did was he revoked that charter, got folks to vote it off, and then he raised his salary because there's no taxation on it, and nobody to overlook it. He raised his salary to over $800,000, but he didn't want to just steal the money there. He wanted to share the wealth with his actual staff, and raise their salary also. I think his assistant was making over $336,000. The police chief was making, Mr. Randy Adams was making over $457,000, and each city council person was making $96,000. He actually spent over $5 million in a lavish lifestyle of thoroughbred horses, racing, and trips, and all that. It kind of sounded kind of familiar.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Yeah. I think you're absolutely correct. This incumbent city council, one of the first things they did, even before they took office, was, even before the major duties of their term were enacted, was that they give themselves a raise. When this mayor was running for mayor, she pledged to the labor unions diligently on the ground to elect her that she would give them a $15 living wage. And when it was time to vote for that living wage, the mayor became a vehement opponent of this living wage. And what it did was it created a situation where the very hard-working, average, everyday people who put her in office were at odds with her from the outset of her administration as mayor, because they felt as if though for the umpteenth time another politician had lied to them and had failed to keep their campaign promise. So when you give yourself a pay increase and then you say that the people aren't worthy of receiving a pay increase, you automatically create a situation of anonymity. And so that is what we are facing right here in the city of Baltimore.
I believe she had some help. The Greater Baltimore Chamber, I believe, or something like that, a board made up of folks who don't look like us. Some do, actually, and pastors on that board. I think the gentleman who has the that sports facility down at Point Covington.
Yes.
Under Armour. Mm-hmm. He's on that board. Okay. Mm-hmm. When you got big officials, John Hopkins, telling the mayor and telling other officials that ordinary citizens don't need a $15 increase when they themselves are making millions of dollars, I think it's something wrong with that.
Well, one of the other things is that right now, just a couple of weeks ago, average, everyday, hardworking people received a 10% increase on their water bills. A 10% increase. It's important to note the last few years there's been an increase in water bills every single year. And so we have council people down City Hall. Certainly the mayor is responsible, but we also have council people down City Hall who have constituents whose homes will be up for grabs potentially as a result of these over-absorbent water bills that people can't afford. But these same council people are being completely silent on this issue. I come from the school of thought that silence is consent, and Dr. King said that silence is betrayal.
Now, you are a good person, and I was known as a troublemaker. So this is all about positivity. I'm not afraid to name names because we need to know who these shysters and slothers are. And I'm going to start. You don't have to do anything, sir. I'm going to start by naming Sharon Gray Milton, the 41st, who does absolutely nothing, and has been allowed to stay there for years doing absolutely nothing. Betsy Garner, who closed down the liquor store and inhabited the 4600 block of Liberty Heights, and did nothing for it. We now have new folks in there who have gotten there illegally, such as Ali, who won an election, which is rigged, which I sat and saw it for myself. So if you come in lying, good God, it's the whole process of lies. It's all a corrupt game. when I looked at the field of folks, I saw that most of them were actually criminals because I have experience and I can also look at records.
Well, Pastor, I completely agree with what you said. However, I've got to point out another person, and that's Councilman Leon Pinkett in the 7th Councilmanic District. The reason why that's important is because the uprising that took place in 2015 took place right there in the heart of the 7th Councilmanic District. And there are neighborhoods in that very district that have a 60% unemployment rate. That means that there are more people in that district who are unemployed than there are who are employed. This council person was one of the leading people to vote in opposition of the $15 living wage. And in fact, he went as far as to try to publicly explain and justify his opposition as to why he would vote for the vast majority of his constituents to be in abject poverty while continuing to support TIFs and tax breaks for poor Covington.
What is a TIF, sir? Break that down for us.
It's basically a government grant for a development project. And one of the problems with that is, specifically when you look at development projects like Port Covington, you're dealing with Kevin Plank, who is a billionaire. And so TIFs are essentially corporate welfare. There's no way in hell that someone like a Kevin Plank would need corporate welfare. As opposed to giving him corporate welfare, we need to give the hardworking people of this city a $15 living wage. We need to redevelop our communities. We need to end this cycle of divestment in our communities and begin to reinvest in schools and recreation centers and improving the quality of life in neighborhoods. And there should not be more liquor stores than there are schools and supermarkets so that our people can have fresh produce to eat and can have an improved quality of life.
Well, you can't really blame Kevin Plank like you could blame the folks over there in Bell, California. And the reason why is that they had a good thing going, and so when the assistant deputy mayor wrote to the police chief in the email, they said, well, come over here and get some of this money. And he said, oh, I'm sure looking forward to coming over to getting some of that money. So Kevin Plank couldn't do a thing. He didn't have black faces in city council, Jack Young and those folks down there, who are writing out the city and giving these white developers everything that they ever wanted. Even the Board of Estimates, these antiquated European gentlemen who I've met them before, come out, secretly in their HQ and want to analyze everything you do when it's something that you have to get and ask them for. But if the mayor condones her staff getting over $490 to sleep in a hotel when the average cost is only $93, we have a Bell, California, right here in Bell, Baltimore.
Pastor, I'm not anti-development at all. I think that development helps to spur growth in cities and in towns. But the thing is that I'd like to see a crane drop in Sandtown. I'd like to see one drop in Westport. I'd like to see one drop in Cherry Hill. I'd like to see one drop in Edmondson Village. So, there is a school of thought that if you ask for fair development, you're anti-development. No, we just believe that developers who are receiving TIFs and tax breaks at the expense of hard-working, working-class Baltimoreans, that they should invest in the neighborhoods and in this cycle of divestment and gentrification. For every block that they develop in downtown Baltimore, they should develop a block in the most impoverished neighborhoods in Baltimore City.
Now, let me ask you this question here, and you're absolutely correct. First of all, regentrification. Now, for some folks who don't know what that is, could you explain briefly?
Well, gentrification is a process where it's like a forced removal. It could be referred to as ethnic cleansing or whitewashing. And it has happened ever so often in various different neighborhoods. Many of the neighborhoods that we live in right now, we could not live in 50 years ago. What is happening now is that Water bills are increasing. Utility bills are increasing. But the $15 of living wage fails.